Hello. Hi. My name is Big Baby the Goat, and I am recording a podcast on Tuesday night, late, watching WNBA game finals. WNBA finals game two. Kelsey Plummer's like Loki going crazy out here with the dirty left. I know that's on y'all's right, but it's the left. Anyways, I think I have a good show for y'all tonight. Per usual, my good friend Kyle always calls me and I'm about to press the record button. And then we talk, and then we talk, and then we talk, and then I get totally like not focused on what I'm going to talk about. So then I have to refocus. And because I'm recording it, 10:38. Can't yell too much, but I have a question for you. Where does the accountability lie? And I kind of want to make this a theme of the podcast today and probably some more podcasts in the future. But where does the accountability lie? I mean, obviously, on this basket that the Las Vegas Aces just hit, the accountability lied upon the defender who was guarding Aja Wilson, and she's getting killed for 24 points. She got 24 on 9 of 12 shooting. But anyways, it started with this conversation that I was listening to, I think about 2 weeks ago. It was Joe Budden and his podcast crew, and they were talking to Adam 22. And I think Adam 22 and DJ Vlad, they are culture vultures. And not that they don't do some good work, I just think that they've thrust themselves into hip hop culture without having maybe the right feel for what the culture is and the people in the culture, right? It's like they come into the culture has allowed them to have loud voices without them being people who echo our sentiments inside of hip hop culture and black culture, right? And hip hop culture to me is a subsection of black culture. But y'all let these people become voices. I and the conversation kind of gets into some things that Joe and the guys thought were pretty nasty that Adam used to like capitalize and monetize. And he's like, my job is to my fans, and it's my job is to provide the content that they want. And I go, yes, your job is to provide the content that your fans want. If you are entertainment. But then he got into journalism, and if you're a journalist, your job is not necessarily to provide your fans with what they want. It's to provide your fans with what they need, right? Because as a journalist, I think that you have a special moral obligation. And as somebody who does not consider themselves a journalist, I'm an opinionist, but I do like to build my opinions based off of facts and try to route you to the facts in which I create my opinions from. I think it's just super important to be careful of what you say and be responsible with what you say. Because I think the media, specifically members of the media who carry the title journalist, they have a moral obligation to inform, but not to create or enhance or incite chaos, right? Their job is to pass on the information to the people that the people need. Maybe they don't want it, but they need it. And it's just like someone who joins the military. It's like somebody who decides to get into public service, whether it's EMT, firefighter, uh, police officer. You take that Hippocratic oath. You decide to become a doctor. You, you assume a responsibility that says, "Hey, I am here to help those who don't know. I am here to create a space where those who need help, those who need guidance, can find it through me." And I think that journalists have a moral obligation to do that. But because we live in a world where everything is monetized and we obviously would not trust state ran media, state ran journalism, uh, we're at a rock and a hard place. And that rock and that hard place leaves us like, hey, what's the best way to get real news out to people? And we haven't figured it out yet. Because who wants to do all of that hard work for free? Nobody. But once the money gets involved, it's like, well, we should make more money because that gets more viewers, that gets us better people, gets us more access. But then it becomes, well, now we're creating a product for money and not creating a product for the substance. We forget about the process of the product and we just get caught up in the end state and the spoils that the product brings us. So, where does the accountability lie? Because one of the biggest arguments that Joe and the guys had with Adam was they were like, "Hey, man, you shouldn't put these things out there, knowing that you shouldn't put these guys on your platform to talk about, their criminal lives or criminal activity because it could come back to haunt them. Or you got these guys out here who want to talk about their beef, and then the other side comes on and talks about their beef, and now you have more beef. And as the person who owns the platform, be res- you should take the initiative to stop that from happening if possible instead of inciting that chaos." He's like, "That's not my job. They say what they say, they do what they do, and I just host it." And I think that's dismissive. I think that's ignorant. And I go, there has to be a middle ground, right? Because if a human being wants to get on a platform and profess their hate for somebody, I mean, that's their choice. They can do it. And if somebody wants to go on that same platform and respond to that, I mean, it's their right that they can do that. And if you are the median for that, you're damn right you're gonna take full advantage of those opportunities because it's gonna bring eyes to your platform. But at what point do you look at what you're doing and survey the room, survey the world around you and go, you know what? All money ain't good money. And this beef here, these issues here, I don't want to be a part of those issues. And why? Because these these guys, they have issues that are larger than what my platform can solve. And I don't want to take the responsibility to solve it. So I'm not. So here's what I say. Journalists, media, you have an obligation to inform but not incite violence, not incite chaos, right? And here's what I'll say to you. If you're going to be open to having people on your platform to voice their thoughts, voice their opinions. If you're going to be open to having the people on the other side to come on and voice their thoughts and voice their opinions and possibly fan the flames of beef on your platform, then you need to be willing to mediate. You need to be willing to maybe not get them in the same room, get them on your platform to talk. No, maybe you can't do that, but maybe you need to get the people around them talking, having productive, fruitful conversations so that you say, hey, I see a problem. Me as a media guy, me as somebody who's taken the responsibility, accepted the responsibility to be, above just a common man, to report the news, to inform people, right? I'm going to take that to the next step. I'm going to help be a solution to the problems that I could be a part of. And if you're not willing to do that, then maybe this media game's not for you. Maybe we should kick you out of the media. Maybe we should not allow you to come cover our culture and get rich off of it, but not have any empathy or sympathy for those who are actually being truly affected by it. And Those of us who choose to go to those places and talk to those people who don't care about us, maybe we should stop. And maybe their money will stop. Or maybe they'll go in a different direction. Or maybe they'll just leave. I don't know. But hell, what do I know? I'm just a bee, baby, and I'm back. And I'm back. I swear I pressed it at the right time and it just didn't work. It didn't work and I didn't like it. But man, let me tell you what. I don't know where does the accountability lie, right? Do we put the accountability on the young boys who don't know how to act? Or do we put the accountability on the creeps like Vlad and Adam 22 who want to just exploit these young ignorant people for their money? I mean, to make money just because we give them a little bit for the interview. I'm just interested in the story. Oh, my fans want to hear it. Well, you didn't have fans until you started making the content, right? So, I mean, who came first, the chicken or the egg? One of these days, we're going to grow a spine, right? And we're just going to kick these types of people outside of our sphere of influence. I'm not saying we're going to cancel them. No. You can go and do what you want to do, wherever else you're accepted. But at some point, we've got to put the hammer down and just be like, man, you know what?
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
But we got to do it the right way. So make sure.
I'm a cop, and you will respect my authority.
And if we do all of that right, you know what they're going to do?
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I overdid it on the ad libs, I know. But it was fun. What's this one? Oh, crickets, yeah. It's probably crickets after all them ad libs. But let's get to our first topic. Speaking of crickets, rest in peace to the Queen. Why did I say that? Because I think that's the right thing to say, because someone who is significant in the lives of a lot of people, not me, passed away. Now, I struggled working this topic because kind of the topic was going to be, why do you care about the Queen? Why do we care about the Queen? Why is this like a huge topic of conversation in America? Why are flags at half mast because of this? Why are people putting out these sympathy posts like RIP to the Queen, long live the Queen? Why is a country like Jamaica going to like 12 days of mourning? And why? The Queen was a figurehead, a head on a figure, who is obviously a part of diplomacy, but the Queen is the figurehead for the monarchy. And the monarchy is built upon a royal family. And the idea of a royal family goes counter to American culture. Because here in America, you know, we fought a war or two to ensure that we would no longer have to answer to a monarchy. And we never built a monarchy because we were built on the premise that all men and women are created equal. Now, what that premise was said to be and what it actually was, you know, that's a totally different thing. But nonetheless, we weren't built on the idea that there's actual royalty. There's never been an American king. There's never been an American queen. Yes, I know y'all love Beyonce and Jay, but they're not a king. They ain't king and queen. Queen bee, there's no such thing. Talk about, hey, young king. Yeah, nah, you're not really a king. You don't have a kingdom. Not here in America. Hey, young queen. Oh, yeah, I love my young queens. I love my old queens. I love my queens. They're not really queens, right? Again, it's a way to separate those who are greater than from those who are less than. So as we put the Queen to rest, I think we need to put the idea of a monarchy to rest. I think we need to put the idea of royalty to rest. Because if you want to embrace the idea of a royalty, if you want to embrace the idea of a monarchy, that means you embrace the idea that you are better than someone else or someone else is better than you. And if that's what you live by, then I mean, shit. What are we talking about here? You are part of the problem that we continue trying to fight, right? We talk about equal rights, but then we want to celebrate the loss of a queen, a loss of a monarch. I mean, a monarch with no power. I mean, the figurehead, really like the power of bobblehead, right? Just everybody got one, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you actually do? Like, what does that ain't Jawan Howard. I mean, the UK has a prime minister for a reason who actually makes those decisions, right? They have a parliament that actually, makes those decisions. You understand what I'm saying? But it's the idea of the queen. And even more so than killing the idea of a monarchy and elevating those, let's continue on elevating those people, right? Because it's people worship. How are you in America, somebody who does not have ties to the UK, sad or bothered that a lady who was 96-year-old passed away? You never met her. You don't have a relationship with her. Your life hasn't changed. Stop the fake social media talk. Every time somebody who's known dies does not mean you have to care. Because you don't. You don't care. You know why? Because you don't know that person. And if you're truly deeply affected by the death of somebody who you do not know, who you had not spent time with, you might need to reevaluate yourself and your values. You know why? Because you may be worshiping an idol God. You may be looking at that golden calf in the wilderness and exalting them above who you are when, you know what, they put their pants on just like you do. Actually, he or she puts his or her pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time. And I'm not saying that we should just down the queen passing away. No, if you are part of that country, then yeah, you feel what you feel because that's one of your distinguished leaders. But people die every day, B. And if those people aren't in your life, miss me with your fake care. Miss me with your fake care. So as I close this out, man, I just want to say that let's stop fake caring about death. Let's stop popularizing the idea that we have to fake care about the death of somebody significant because they're famous. No, we don't. We can say, hey, thoughts and prayers to their family and their loved ones, those who are affected by this, and then move along with our lives. Because that's what I do. That's what I did. And the thing is, I honestly just don't care about these figureheads. But the one thing I appreciate about the UK is they at least acknowledge that the Queen is just a figurehead. But what do I know? I'm just a big baby. And I'm still talking. Nine more episodes after this one. Nine more episodes after this one. But hey, have you ever thought about wanting to start a podcast? Have you ever wondered how the big baby does what the big baby do? Well, if you have, man, go to buzzsprout.com. Check out the link in the bio, and you can start your very own podcast on Buzzsprout. All you need is a quiet room, a cell phone, or a microphone, and you can record just like the big baby. Nobody makes it easier than Buzzsprout. So, hey, go to buzzsprout.com, start your podcast today. Actually, click the link in the description and tell them the big baby sent you. But thinking about the queen, and don't get me wrong, like she died, and there were people who had not so nice things to say about her because of some of her stances throughout her life. She's 96 years old. She's from the UK. I don't expect to be ideologically aligned with this lady. I don't. I expect that if I went through the track record of her stances, I'd be appalled by some, I'd be sickened by some, and based on what happened with Meghan Markle when she married into the family, it let me know how I should feel about the royal family. Maybe I should stop calling them the royal family. That family over there in that country that I don't really care about, right? The country that we beat in war. But imagine there being a 24 hours news cycles throughout history. Imagine Queen Elizabeth like going through her 20s and 30s being seen like Kim Kardashian. Right? Or imagine George Washington and Martha Washington going through a filthy divorce and it being displayed in court like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And he talking about she took a shit in his wood teeth box. I mean, even taking it back as recently as like the 80s or the 90s, and you think about Magic Johnson and think about him coming out as HIV positive, but think about him being covered like leading up to that. Because do we get the full coverage of celebrities? No, we don't. There's still a great support system in that fourth wall that keeps that stuff hidden from us. We'll talk about that later. But just imagine, right? What would the first take topic be? You know, if you had like a Magic Johnson come out and be like, my fellow Americans, I've decided to step away from the game of basketball to focus on myself, focus on my future. I've recently contracted HIV, and I'm just going to work on myself and my family. Imagine First Take the next day. Imagine Undisputed. Imagine CNN. I wasn't even alive to live that, but just imagine how that was covered. I mean, think about Manti Te'o. That was what, 10 years ago? Imagine how Manti Te'o gets covered today with Instagram, with TikTok, with Undisputed, with Mike and Mike, or the Get Up, or the Herd, First Take, all these sports shows, all these guys who get paid to have a take, the Paul Feinbaum show. You might get Paul Feinbaum to talk football outside of the SEC, right? Imagine that. Imagine how I mean, we haven't had a tragedy happen to a sitting president, but imagine how the assassination of Kennedy gets covered in a 24-hour news cycle. Imagine the mobster or the OG mobster coming out and going on some random podcast or going on Instagram Live to talk about it. Because so often we talk about how things were different back in the day and how they did a better job of keeping things hid and the people were more silent. They didn't say as much. They didn't say as much because they didn't have anybody to say it to, and they didn't have an incentive to say it. Because think about how many people who were once Cosa Nostra now they just will get on and talk about any and everything. They don't mind talking to the media. They don't mind talking on a podcast and telling their story. Imagine the Tim Donaghy story and how that would have been covered with the 24-hour news cycle. And then people leaking this, people leaking that, people getting paid to tell a story and come sit on a podcast 2 days after. Imagine what that looks like. And the reason why that didn't exist because people just didn't need to know everything and there wasn't as much money in it. And as much as we think that we know, we don't really know much. We know what we're told, we know what we're given, and every now and then certain stuff comes out and it's super informative to the people. And I'm not sure how important it is because I don't know how we remember the greats of our generation moving forward because of the 24-hour news cycle. because we are hardly allowed to have personal lives and private stances. But just think about what life would have been like with a 24-hour news cycle and the different and the different ways that your history book would be written, the different ways that you would read articles, the different ways that you would do research because of the information that you would have. And would you characterize people for the good things that they did while knowing the not so good things that they may have done? I don't know. Just a thought exercise. We'll find out in the future. I think that we'll finally drop our moral standards for people in the limelight. We'll start to view those people as peers and equals who just have different opportunities and different passions than we do, instead of deifying them like we do the Queen, like we do Beyonce, like we do Jay-Z, like we do Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, like we do our entertainers and our political figures. But I also think that it erodes trust with those institutions because for so long it had been fed to us that we're supposed to believe in this, right? We're supposed to believe that these people are better than us. They are at a higher plane than we are. So we can't be there because we can't or have not shown the discipline to function the way that these individuals do. And then when we realize, put the man put his pants on just like I do. He's flawed just like I am. What do I believe? Everything is a lie. I'm confused here also, sorry. Just a side note. Watching Sports Center and they're talking about Aaron Judge and his home runs and they're saying Chase and Maris. I don't understand why he'd be chasing Roger Maris because Mark McGuire and Bernie Mac still have the record for home runs in a season. So I feel like they should be chasing them. Baseball coach. But anyways, one of the reasons why we'll never know what happens behind the fourth wall, trust and believe, with the information that we get, we won't ever understand what happens behind the fourth wall. Oh, he's chasing mirrors because it's mostly Yankees history. Oh, how safe. You don't want to talk about most of MLB history. But the fourth wall will never fall because it has a solid foundation. And that solid foundation is made of green and it's called currency. Because if you think about information, where it comes from, how it flows, right? Most of our information comes from the top down. Where do you get your news from? Your credible news, right? Because it's this funny thing about research and having things double sourced, triple sourced, fact checked. Credible sources have to present it, or it's not fact. But what if I walk out of my house and I see LeBron James in Albany, Georgia, hanging out? Or not just hanging out. I see LeBron James in Albany, Georgia, walking out of a random house, gets into a unmarked car, nobody sees him but me. And I don't take a picture and I report that LeBron James was in Albany, Georgia. And then they go fact check and they can't find it. Why? Because he did not fly into Albany. There's no flight record of him being there. He drove from wherever he came from, right? And you can't prove he was anywhere unless you got cameras. I don't have picture evidence of it, but then you say it didn't happen. But it did happen. That's the truth, right? Because I saw it. Nobody else saw it. All right. So here's how the fourth wall works. If you want access, you have to cover things in a way that the people who grant the access will allow it. So does that mean that you get the truth? No. Think about watching a football game. Hardly any of your color commentators actually provide true analysis. They won't call out coaches, they won't call out players for playing poorly. You know why? Because if they do, they won't get the same access. And because of the access and the money that's tied to having the job and the access, those who are chosen, or those who have chosen to help the uninformed become more informed, are just giving out a little bit of information. It's not misinformation, but it's not actual fully developed information that educates those who are seeking education. We are being given a disservice because of the monetization of the media. So the fourth wall would never fall because it has a solid foundation. It's just like a former coach going on Sports Center breaking down a game, and he doesn't say anything that talks about a coach making a bad decision. Why? Because that guy wants a job one day. He won't call out a player for playing poorly because maybe he has to coach that player one day, and that player may not like that coach for calling him out one day, and he won't say anything. Or the journalist who's covering the artist and won't talk about their terrible drug habit and the way they mistreat people until somebody else reports it, because it becomes a legal issue and it's out there and it's public knowledge when you knew the whole time. Why? Well, because you want access. Or how we've seen stories get pulled off the internet, right? And we've seen bloggers get sued, and media members lose their jobs and lose their credentials because maybe they reported on something that was not favorable to an important human being. That's the world we live in today. So look, this is not communist Russia. You know what I mean? This is not the Soviet Union. This is not Germany with the Berlin Wall, right? The wall's not falling because it has such a solid foundation that in order for you to get inside to report and try to break that wall down, you gotta be there. You can't break it down if you're not in there. And once you get in there, you want to stay in there so you can be supported by that fourth wall. So you'll never do the work that it takes to knock it down. Something as simple as Colin Cowherd today, who loves Russell Wilson, is tied in with Russell Wilson, would not come out and criticize Russell Wilson's lackluster performance in the Monday Night Football game. You see it all the time in the media, and it's sick. It's absolutely sick. Charlemagne the God did not want to be friends with artists until he became friends with artists, and then he got super friendly with these people. He's making more money. He's doing more projects, and guess what? He's way less critical of those who are favorable to him. The job of the media is not to be a friend to the people you cover. It's to be the mediator between the people that you cover and those who are interested in those people who don't get to go. It's a hard job. It's a super hard job, but in order to get to where you need to be to have the access, you got to have the funds. And those who have the funds are going to talk about their friends and the fun that they have in a way that's friendly and fun to them and not actually true to those who are missing out. And that's why there's the crabs in the barrel mentality. That's why we talk about this idea of competition and competing against one another. And you see the Southern black man and the Southern white man going to war with each other, and they're both poor against what? They're going to war with each other, but they have the same common enemy. So they got the same common enemy. The thing that the poor Southern oppressed black man is fighting for does not affect what the poor Southern less oppressed white man is fighting for. And if either gets what they want, neither still has the power, the leverage to affect what the other person is going after. But it's called divide and conquer. It's called crabs in a barrel. It's like, hey, you got to spend your time trying to get out of the barrel and making sure that you're the first one out. Well, if you're the first one out, means you got to step on a lot of people to get there. But when they got pinchers just like you, they can pull you right back down. And guess what? All of y'all are just in there fight. And what do we see in society? The haves versus the have-nots. And the barrel is getting more full and more full and more full. And the crazy thing is, maybe the most full barrel of them all exists in hip hop culture. Because what's happened is hip hop culture has now started to parade around like it's black culture, right? Gangster rap has now started to become what is actual rap. Trap rap is just all rap, all hip hop, and the culture that those artists come from are dominating what is considered to be black culture. And I think it's sick. I think it's disgusting. And that takes me into a conversation about P&B Rock. And I want to keep this conversation about P&B Rock very, very brief because I'm not very familiar with the artist. I've heard his name. I've listened to some bits of an interview just to get a better understanding of who he is, but I don't know much about him. He just recently passed away. Rest in peace to P&B Rock. Prayers and thoughts to those who were affected by his unfortunate, untimely demise. Thoughts and prayers to his children. Thoughts and prayers to the mother of his children, his mother, anyone else who was affected by this. Any witnesses, anybody, right? So I want to spin this conversation off of him very quickly because I don't want the focus to be on a man who just lost his life yesterday. But I do want to take what happened here and try to have an intelligent and informed conversation about some of the issues that are happening in the black community and how hip hop culture, how criminal culture is parading around like it's actual black culture and is leading to the demise of our people. And just like I talk about, this fourth wall having a strong support system, it's the same thing here. That same support system that drives the fourth wall is the same thing that drives what music we are is pumped into our ears. I ain't gonna say that we hear, but it's pumped into our ears. I think it is the same thing that builds up the voices that we get to hear. And I think it's important to acknowledge it for what it is because, I mean, my God, how often do you find somebody like me and Parlay Pete having a conversation about sports and black life from a non-street perspective? How many mainstream media sources do we find in the black community that aren't they either aren't street based, talking about street stuff, or were formerly of the streets? When you find them, let me know because I don't see them. I don't want to talk hip hop. I want to talk being a middle class black man in America. That's what I want to talk. But instead, we got this criminal culture masking its black culture, and it's back again. So let's talk about what happened here. Rapper gets killed at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Sad. It's unfortunate. Apparently he was at one of the hood Roscoe's locations. Super sad and unfortunate. Um, I saw a post that said his mother of his children posted the location with him to show people that they actually go on dates and they are together. If that's why she posted that, that's sick. Because guess what, baby? If y'all are together for y'all two. Y'all aren't here for the world. And if the world cares so much about where y'all at and what y'all are doing, hey world, get a life. But hey, you, ma'am, and not her, anybody who thinks they have to prove to the outside world the status of their relationship, you don't. You focus on what's going on in the house. And if the problems in the house aren't good, y'all work those out in the house. And if y'all are good in the house, well, y'all be good in the house. And if y'all decide y'all want to be outside of the house, be outside of the house. And this is a warning to anybody. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be famous. Be careful of what you post. Be careful about posting what you're doing and where you're at real time. A good rule of thumb I got from a media personality that I really like is you post the next day if you want to post where you are. You don't let people know where you are because you don't know what people are looking for you and what people are looking for. And the last thing you want to do is just be out enjoying your life, putting it out to the world to say, hey, man, look at me. I'm having a great time. And then your good time turns into the last time. And that's unfortunate. And unfortunately, ooh, double unfortunates, right? Don't even ask me how. We can't just go out and do things and show the world what we're doing because there are always people who are out there who have less and want to make sure that we don't enjoy ourselves or they want to enjoy where we are. And I think that's a two-headed snake, right? I think that as much as we'd like to say, hey, it shouldn't matter we're who we are, what we're doing, if we're not bothering anybody, we shouldn't have to worry about people bothering us. Well, that's not the reality that we live in. So you can spend all this time living in this fantasy world of, oh, I can just go out and be a normal person. I can act like I'm a normal human being. But if you are not a normal human being, if you are rich, if you are famous, if you're driving around in nice cars, if you got a bunch of jewelry on your neck, you have expensive clothes, and you're going to places where there are a bunch of poor people, unfortunately, bad things are going to happen. This young rapper had a quote talking about, hey, he liked to go to the hood. He liked to let people know that he was from that he's just a normal person. Hey man, you may be from that, but now you are living a life that has elevated you out of that. And when I was a child, I acted like a child. But when I grew up, I turned from my childish ways. And I know I didn't quote the scripture 100% right, but you understand what I'm saying. Once you leave a situation, you have to change from the ways of that situation. Once you leave a certain area, you have to leave that area. You have to leave the mindset of that area. You have to leave the people of that area. I'm not saying that you just totally turn your back. I'm not saying that you don't give back. But I'm saying once you out of the streets, don't act like you're in the streets. And hip hop culture, this criminal culture, has led us to believe that that's how we have to live. I'm not industry. I'm industries. I'm not an industry person. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real street guy. Well, not no more. You're in the music industry. You're in the entertainment industry. You're corporate now. Be that. When in Rome, right? I'm not saying you just totally turn your back. I'm not saying you lose your values. But black people, we've got to stop thinking that we've got to be real, that we got to prove ourselves. Prove ourselves to who? People who don't matter? People who don't pay our bills? People who are just looking for something to say because they're not happy with themselves? Is that what we have to do? No. And it's sad. It's sad that our community, our culture is the only culture that takes this on. The idea of you can't go to LA without checking in. Why not? You can't be rich and go to the hood. Why not? It shouldn't be that way, but because it is, I'm going to tell you to act accordingly. Leave your chain at home. Don't drive it crazy foreign. Pull up in a Honda and look real normal. If you think you're normal, if you want to be normal, look normal, act normal. But if you are different, if you are abnormal, you got to make sure that you are in a place where abnormal is normal. You can't bring your abnormality to this place that is where that is seen as so abnormal, where everyone's acting normal and expect to be treated normally because you're not. It's sad, but that's the reality that we live in. So until we, tighten up as a community and we get our values in order, we get our arrow pointed in the right direction, this is going to continue to happen because it's only happening in hip hop culture. It's not even happening in black sports culture. And and I was having a conversation with friends and I was saying, like, hey, bro, the problem is it's these people who done left the streets, who left the hood, they trying to act hood, and they going back to the hood to show that they connected and all of that good stuff. And they were like, but everything ain't happening in the hood. I'm not just talking about the physical place that the hood is. It's almost like the church, right? The trap, the hood. It's not just the physical place, it's the mindset, right? The church is the body of the believers, not the building. The streets, the hood, the trap, it's not just the blocks that it's on. It's the mindset. It's the body of believers. It's the people who subscribe to that mindset. It's those who believe that I gotta stay real. The money can't change me. Well, make more. It should change you. I came on here a couple weeks ago and said the money should change you. It should change your conversations. It should change your network. That don't mean you leave everybody else behind who ain't got it. But my God, you should meet some people who got it and live differently. You don't see Will Smith out here fighting in the streets, getting shot at. You don't hear about LeBron fighting in the streets, getting shot at. You don't hear about Denzel fighting in the streets, getting shot at. You don't hear that from many of our athletes. Yeah, do people get robbed? Yeah, absolutely. But let me tell you what: insure your stuff and get insurance. So if somebody rob you here, yeah, you can have it. I don't need it. I don't need it at all. You can have it because you guess what? I want my life. Oh, this card, yeah, have them. Have them. Chain, take my chain off, boy. Tell you what, boy. Go ahead, take it. Go ahead, bust it down. You have a great day. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna file an insurance claim on it tomorrow. Just let me keep my keys and my ID card. You can't just know my ID card. I really want to keep my keys. And really my phone too. Cash, take it. Cards, take it. Take it all. It's material. I can replace it. You gotta remember that, hey, when you got something to live for. And when you have something to live for, don't rush death. Do not rush death. And this is not something that's pointed at this young man who just passed away. This is not something that's pointed at any specific human being who's died in black culture and hip hop culture. But we as a people, we just got to do better. We've got to do better. We can't prey on our people who've made it. For the people who've made it, don't come back and try to shit on the people who haven't. Because all it does is build contempt and then drive people to want to make you suffer because your prosperity and then throwing it in their face is making them suffer internally, just in a different way. And people are going to get back to you. Give back good vibes. Understand the environment you in. And honestly, bro, just stay out of LA. Stay out of LA, man. Just keep down in LA and getting murdered in LA and getting robbed in LA. Maybe that's part of their plan too. Just because you got to go to LA to make money. Then they put you out there with all them Crips and Bloods and gangsters, and then you lose your money, or then you gotta become one of them in order to be safe, and you gotta pay for security and all of that stuff. And now you're getting extorted. And the more I learn, the less I know, and the more conspiracies start to make sense. And that don't make much sense. But as we close this podcast out, man, let me tell y'all about y'all woke folks. Because if y'all woke, I'm sleep. If y'all woke, I'm sleep. First one, Little Mermaid. If you are mad about a black Little Mermaid, then go watch the old one. If you are mad that a created human being, like being a fake character that you watch on a TV show, is not the race that you like, whether it's James Bond, whether it's a mermaid, whether it's a prince, whether it's a princess, whether it's a Jedi, whether it's I don't know, you name it. If it's something that's made up and you're mad at the race and you're probably a racist, what? What the shirt say? Racism isn't a touchy topic if you're not a racist. You just might be a racist. But I'm sleep. Here's another one. He didn't waste your time, sis. He got to know you and y'all didn't work. He, excuse me. He didn't waste your time, sis. He got to know you and didn't like you. Bro, that's so real. I hate hearing I hate hearing these complaints about, "Oh, I'm not wasting my time with another man. We went through all this and he wasted my time, or I'm not wasting my time with another girl. 3 months, 2 years, he wasted my time, she wasted my time." Or maybe it didn't work. Maybe you all had some good times and some bad times, and the bad times began to outweigh the good times, and you all did not work through your issues, or you didn't think that person was worth working through those issues with, or that person didn't think you were worth working through the issues with, or the issues just became so insurmountable that you all couldn't do nothing with them. So it ended. All good things come to an end. It's okay, but it doesn't mean that you wasted your time. And just because something doesn't work out does not mean your time was wasted. Value the experience. Value the time spent, value the lessons learned, and apply them to the next situation that you have in life. Y'all so woke that y'all can't work through nothing. But you know what? Back to sleep I go. One thing about me, sorry. I'm sorry. Who got another one? Who checked on you today? Exactly. So keep focusing on yourself. Hey, it's no one's responsibility to check on you every day. It's only yours. And then I'll follow that up with, who did you check on? What's the expectation? What did you communicate in the relationship? Do you need help? Did you ask for help? Did you read? Yeah, I mean, this idea of always focusing on self and not focusing on community is getting us back to our most primal state. And that's not who we are. As people, we need community, we need society, and we need to stop pushing people away for every little thing that they do, and instead try to bring people closer. And if somebody didn't check on you, so fucking what? Check on yourself and get the support that you need when you need it. People aren't always going to check on you. Check on them. Ask for help. And then if they're not there for you, then you let them go. If it costs me my peace, it has to go. And this is the era that we're living in. Everybody's like, protect your peace. If it costs you your peace, it has to let it go. Well, for how long? And why did it cost you your peace? How did it cost you your peace? You know, peace is very important, but peace is not constant. Every day is not peaceful. If every day is peaceful, then no day is peaceful. So I think we need to stop just saying, "Oh well, I gotta protect my peace. If it disrupts my peace, it has to go." Well, no, your peace needs to be disrupted. You need to reset your peace. Sometimes you need a new piece. Sometimes you may need your old piece. Sometimes you don't need no piece. You just gonna handle it with your hands, you know? But the point being is we have to stop being so general with these comments. We have to stop putting this stuff out, because the more and more we discuss it, the more we put it out without discussing it, the more and more that we just say, like, this is what we're doing. This is the right thing to do. Yes, yes. We're so woke that we're asleep, that we lose nuance and context to life. And if we lose nuance and context to life, then what are we doing? Y'all woke. You woke. I'm going back to sleep. See. One thing about me, I'm gonna let you play yourself out my life. I'm solid on my end. Are you? Are you really solid? If somebody makes decisions that you don't like that maybe will cause you to not want to be associated with them anymore, did you communicate that with them? Did you talk about how their decisions make you feel? Maybe before they did it, did you communicate what your expectations were? Have you always been solid every single time, 100% of the time? Or do you mess up too? I'm just asking, do you give the same limb that you expect? Or are you asking for more than you're willing to give? Because it's real easy to say that you're solid on your end, and lo and behold, you solid as a rock in quicksand. Who's to say? And what is your perspective of solid versus someone else's? Do you know yourself? Or do you have a false self-identification, right? You got to think about that stuff. We're just so quick to dismiss people and discard people. But I think it's important to value relationships and work on those relationships day in and day out to ensure that you maintain those relationships. When I have issues with my close friends, it gets to a point I tell them, like, hey, man, I ain't talked to you in a while and it bothers me. I need to talk to my guy. I need to talk to my homie. Let me know when you're free. We need to catch up. It's been too long. Because that's important to me in maintaining those relationships. Because I'm not always solid. But I don't want to lose the people who are important to me because I have moments of shaky ground, weak foundation. I will not water myself down to make myself more digestible for you. Well, I hope somebody likes your flavor because if they don't, ain't nobody gonna be drinking your shit and you're just gonna be sitting on the shelf by yourself, and you're gonna be and you eventually gonna expire. At some point you gotta adjust. And you gotta figure out when that adjustment is important for you. Cause can't nobody just walk around the world being 100% themselves 100% of the time and not being able to bend to other people and obtain any type of success. Last one. Where's my phone? I gotta pull this up. I gotta pull this up and have a little story time with y'all because this is one of the oddest things I've ever encountered in my life. And it's probably some of the most woke shit that I've ever seen in my life. It's just pushing me into the bed right now. Nightclub bans staring without verbal consent in new woke policy. The days of checking someone out according to the New York Post, the days of checking someone out at a club are over. An Australian nightclub said it will remove people who are caught staring at someone without that person's consent. Club 77 in Sydney included unwanted attention from strangers in its updated zero tolerance policy on harassment. The venue posted the woke update on its Instagram account saying the club is not a place to come if your sole purpose is to pick up. Excuse me. As a nightclub, we encourage you to interact with strangers. However, any engagement must begin with verbal consent. The statement read, this also applies if you are, for example, staring at someone from afar. The club has hired designated safety officers who will be wearing pink high visibility vests to handle complaints and concerns. If we receive reports of any behavior that has made someone feel uncomfortable, the reported individual will be removed from the venue. The police will be called, the statement said. Club 77 said in the statement it will encourage feedback, which patrons are quick to provide with comments including RIP to social interaction and not allowed to look at people now. Man, look here. I almost threw my phone, but that would just be too loud. But can the club, you're not allowed to make anybody uncomfortable. Nobody is ever comfortable all the time. What has happened to our society where we think that we always have to be 100% comfortable 100% of the time by 100% of the people that we interact with? Who is driving these crazy false social narratives? What has anyone accomplished without some level of discomfort? Now, I'm not sitting here saying that someone should be able to just creep out in a corner and just be perving on a chick and just groping himself and being like, yeah. I'm not saying that should be the standard, but what if it works? What if a woman likes it? Or that particular woman likes it? What if you're having an interaction with someone who you are vibing with and that makes another person uncomfortable in the club? What if you show up and you see your ex in there and and she out here talking to some dude and you don't like that, so then you say her behavior is making you uncomfortable and now she gets kicked out and the police get called just because you hate? Where do we draw the line? I understand getting stared at's not comfortable. I understand even somebody talking to you longer than you would like is not comfortable, and possibly saying some things that you'd rather not hear is not comfortable. But life's not perfect. We're going to deal with things that we don't like. And sometimes we're going to deal with things that we think are make us uncomfortable and we're really going to like them. And we're going to be like, wow, what a new experience. I'm so happy I experienced that. I never would have done that on my own. And what this club is doing, it saddens me. It scares me because I'm afraid that we're going to live in a society of the folks on Timmy Turner when I wish everybody was the same. Because everybody's going to be gray blobs, looking the same, talking the same, acting the same. And we're going to lose all of the nuance in the world that we're already losing. It's going to be out of the damn window. And then what? We have a conformist society because we couldn't conform. Like, we're going to be so non-conformist that we conform, right? Like, we're just going to be all the same because, the societal standards that we once fell under are no longer acceptable. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but what I'm telling you is it's not the right place to go. And if we can't have nuance, if we can't have mistakes, we can't have mess ups in our society, we are no longer going to have a society that functions. If I can't question something, if I can't be wrong, if I can't mess up, then what? Oh, he's staring at me. Okay, get over it. Oh, he didn't ask me for permission to ask me my name. I'm not saying that a man should be able to just walk up to a woman and slap her in the forehead with his dick. But if you can't grab a woman's hand and be like, can I get this dance, baby? I don't know. But I'm happy I'm married. I'm happy I don't have to deal with this stuff. But what do I know? I'm just a big baby. And I'm gone.
I left it